Cellulite is not just a fat problem. If it was, weight loss would resolve the problem. That's not usually what happens. Not to say that weight loss doesn't help, but it doesn't resolve. And it's because cellulite is multifactorial, meaning there's a bunch of things involved that cause cellulite to show up in the first place. Now, you might feel like I'm doing everything right. I shouldn't have cellulite. I eat right, I exercise. Why do I have cellulite? Well, I'm gonna tell you, and then I'm gonna give you some simple things to do to help address the cellulite in and of itself. And we're gonna focus mainly on butt and thigh, all right? Now, before we get into this, I know that I'm gonna get comments because I've gotten them before. It runs in my family, or I've had it since I was a kid. It's obviously in my genes. Yeah, there is a small part of genetics that play into cellulite. Here's the thing about genetics. Genetics, I want you to start thinking of the gun. Okay? Genetics are a gun. Guns in and of itself, without ammunition, are not problematic. Generally speaking, let's use this as like more of an analogy, okay? The problem is when guns are loaded. And what loads genetics, what caused genetics to go off, which is why I'm using the gun analogy, when genetics go off, that's when we express either a disease, a condition, a symptom. When that goes off, it's because we loaded the genes with ammo. And that ammo comes from lifestyle. And that lifestyle can be a plethora of things. It can be our stress, how we manage our stress. It could be our toxic exposures. It could be how sedentary we are. It could be what we eat. It could be a whole laundry list of things. So it's not enough to say that cellulite, it's just in my genes, I'm stuck with it. I actually don't believe that. I do believe that we can make the appearance of cellulite a whole lot better, not guaranteeing it's gonna 100% go away because there's, like I said, a lot of factors that go into it, but we can definitely reduce the appearance of it and make things function a whole lot better. Now, why am I talking about cellulite? Because cellulite is such an aesthetic thing. And I usually stay more deeper into, what is causing it. It's because one of the things that cause cellulite is improper lymphatic drainage. Yeah. So there is not a single person that has cellulite that has proper lymphatic drainage in that area. Is your mind blown? It should be. Now, why isn't this being talked about? Because lymphatic drainage is finally getting some traction, which is fantastic, but most doctors don't talk about lymphatic drainage because it takes a whole lot to educate someone and teach them how to do lymphatic drainage at home. On the flip side, it's not always feasible for people to go and get lymphatic drainage massages as regularly as they would need in order to see a difference. Hence, where I come in. I want to make lymphatic drainage easily and accessible so that everybody has the opportunity to implement it to better help their specific needs. All right, so let's dive in. Cellulite is really a variety of a couple things happening. One, it is fat cells. So we all have fat cells, but it's how our fat cells are reacting to the environment around it causes the dimpling, which is what we call cellulite. So what causes the dimpling? So it's the fascia around the lymph, around the circulation, around the fat that becomes tight, restrictive, even almost like adhering. So it's not moving the way that it's supposed to. So when we have these connective tissue, I don't want to use the word disorder because it's not a disorder, but dysfunctionality, meaning it's not functioning the way that it's supposed to, it is going to accentuate and ultimately cause these tethers between the fat, which is what causes the dimpling. So what we're going to talk about is what can we do to reduce the appearance of cellulite in our butt and thighs. You guys ready? All right. First things first, we're going to start with lymphatic drainage. Lymphatic drainage, when that isn't draining properly, it also means we don't have proper circulation. Remember, lymph and circulation go hand in hand. They're the opposite sides of the mirror. Circulation brings nutrients and oxygen to every tissue, cell, gland, organ in our body. Lymphatic drainage removes the interstitial fluid, that waste product that's created from those cells, from blood being brought to the area. So it works in this beautiful synchronicity of back and forth. So we have to increase lymphatic drainage. And when we increase lymphatic drainage, we're also going to support better circulation. Win-win. Who doesn't want more nutrients and oxygen getting to their cells and tissues to function better? Who doesn't want the waste products being removed so it doesn't sit there driving inflammation? Because inflammation is another component to how visible and how puffy the area is for cellulite. So the longer lymphatic fluid sits in an area, the more inflammation is going to build. Okay, so let's talk about what can we do to improve lymphatic drainage. Well, we're going to be focusing on the specific 7. Now, the specific 7, I'm going to highly recommend that you do all specific 7 because our whole body needs lymphatic drainage support, but we're going to be site specific today because we're focusing on butt and thighs. So what are the lymph nodes that we need to hyper focus on in order to make sure that it is draining that area? All right, first and foremost, our termini. We always start at our collarbones. From here, if our goal is to affect our lower torso, so from our belly button down, we then need to address the cisterna chyli, followed by the groin, and I'm even gonna say the knees. Now, why do we wanna go down in that order? Is because we need to make sure that all of those choke points for drainage of our lower body to be ultimately open and free of congestion. For there to be lymphatic fluid building up, it means that there's some stagnation and congestion in those areas. So we need to make sure that it's free and clear. So you're gonna wanna do anywhere between, I always say 10 to 50, but if you have a problem in one area, you're not gonna wanna be at the 10. You're probably gonna wanna be more at the 30, 40, maybe even 50 pumps per location. Now, the other thing I'm gonna suggest that you do is you not just go down, but you come back up, meaning once you clear your knees, you then go back to your groin and you don't have to necessarily do the same number, but maybe you do like half of what you did initially, then your cisterna chyli and your termini. That's the extended version. That's really making sure that those pathways are free and clear to allow lymphatic fluid to drain. Now, the other thing when it comes to draining our lymph of our lower body, which tends to be where we see most cellulite, it is massively influenced by diaphragmatic breathing. And I'm gonna tell you, majority of the world is not diaphragmatic breathing. They're not. And it's because of how we live, how we've trained ourselves, women especially, where we got it in our head that our belly should not come out, we gotta keep our stomachs in, is massively affecting our nervous system, our diaphragm, and our lymphatic drainage. So we have to be diaphragmatic breathing because that diaphragmatic breathing is that pump that helps pull the fluid up from our legs in through our groin up into what's called the thoracic duct that runs essentially along our spine. So that's what's draining the fluid from our belly button down to our toes and comes and drains up at our left collarbone. So you might also notice that your left collarbone is puffier. If you're somebody that has cellulite or more pronounced cellulite, your left collarbone might be a little puffier because it's not draining properly. It might not be though, but I'm just letting you know that could be a potential. So incorporating diaphragmatic breathing is really important. And you can do it either before or after you clear your cisterna chyli. And I'm gonna recommend that you do 3 minutes of diaphragmatic breathing. Something simple like a slow inhale for a count of 4 and then an extended exhale for a count of 6. Now, why do I recommend that? Because it's going to help shift you into a parasympathetic state. And why that's important is because our nervous system is going to ultimately control our fascia, how our fascia is functioning. So remember when I said it's lymph, but it's also fascia? Well, our fascia is usually dehydrated in those areas, which is what causes it to become tighter. So if we can incorporate some nervous system involvement, really getting our nervous system to relax and shift into that parasympathetic state, your body is going to be able to rest, digest, and drain a whole lot better. Now, some other things that you can do for fascia is making sure that you're hydrated at a cellular level. Most people are dehydrated. I'm certified functional doc for well over a decade, and I can't even tell you the number of labs that I've looked at. Whenever somebody had labs and brought them to me, it was because they had a symptom, a problem that they wanted resolved. I can tell you 9 out of 10 people were dehydrated on their lab work. So what is a simple thing that you can do? Well, you're gonna drink some water with a pinch of salt. Now, a pinch of quality salt, Celtic sea salt, Himalayan sea salt, unrefined sea salt is the thing that I want to get like through to you. It cannot be iodized table salt. Why? Because that salt has been stripped of the minerals, and it's the minerals, specifically the magnesium, that helps your cells pull water in. So not only is drinking a little bit of salt water going to help with improving your hydration, you're likely going to have to go to the bathroom less. People that are like, oh my gosh, I drink so much water, but I'm running to the bathroom every like 30 minutes, an hour, the water's running through you. Your body's not absorbing it. So try that pinch of salt and let's start to get hydration into our cells, into our fascia, so that things can glide and move more easily. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we have to get up and move. Our fascia needs to be able to move in different planes. So some of the things that can be super, super beneficial is neurolymphatic movements. So those are things that I do in my Drainage Academy, my private academy, where I teach people how to utilize neurology with certain movements to incorporate and improve drainage, but also improve fascial restrictions and muscle tension. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, just drop, neurolymphatic in the comments, and then, maybe I'll do some of the neurolymphatic component to help with the fascia and the drainage, because it really does work together. No system in our body works alone. It all works together. So neurolymphatic movements is a really good thing. Even just getting up and walking. Muscle training is really good. We have to contract our muscles. And most of the time we sit. So we're not contracting those muscles as much as they need to be contracted. So weightlifting is huge. Building the muscle up is really important. And then the other thing that can be super simple that you can do at home is like fascial rolling or like skin rolling. So ultimately what you're going to do is you're going to grab like a part of your skin and you're just going to roll across, but you're going to ultimately start and like roll up and down your thigh. So I like to start high, just like I do with lymphatic drainage, and I roll down. Once I roll down, then I'll roll back up. And if you're like, I can't grab my skin, there's no roll, that tells me even more that you are dehydrated, and we got to get you hydrated again. So those would be the first couple things that I would highly recommend implementing if you're somebody that wants to make changes to the appearance of cellulite. Now, again, there's a whole lot more that goes on or goes into what causes cellulite. And if you want a more broader explanation, you can go and watch the video that I did on cellulite right here. Thanks so much for being with me, guys. Let me know in the comments if this was helpful, if you're trying it, if it's working, or if you want more information on neurolymphatic movements. Thanks for being with me. Happy draining.